Good evening, everybody. So we usually start with, anyway, I think short meditation on the breath. So let's just do that before we get going. So, sit comfortably in a good meditation posture. Find your breath where it goes out, comes in through your nostrils. Then, generate a strong determination. Now I'm going to focus on my breath without allowing myself to get distracted by anything whatsoever. And then just try and keep your mind on your breath for as long as you can. And then when you notice your mind has gone off your breath, just drop whatever it was that distracted you and come straight back to your breath. So now think, the purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings from suffering to enlightenment. In order to do that, first I have to reach enlightenment myself. And that depends on my completing the path to enlightenment. Since the path to enlightenment is quite long and difficult in parts, I need to practice regularly. In fact, I need to establish a daily practice so that every day I can make progress towards my goal of reaching enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So therefore, I'm going to participate in this class on establishing a daily practice in order to reach enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So thinking briefly like that, you can generate bodhicitta motivation for this evening's session. Okay, thank you. So, as it says in the calendar, the Kurukulla Center calendar, that we're looking at Lama Zopa Rinpoche's method to transform a suffering life into happiness, including enlightenment. This is this daily meditation practice he's composed for us. So, who has anyone not been in previous classes? Doug, this is your first time?
Yeah, first time, yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, who tricked you into coming to this? Anyway, well, yeah, so this is the fifth night out of 5. So may not be able to go back to the beginning, just have to finish it off tonight, but hopefully it'll give you an idea. Have you got a copy of the text? Did you find a copy of on the website?
Yeah, the PDF. I grabbed that, yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. So this practice starts with the glance meditation on the Lam Rim, composed by Dorji Changlos and Jimpa. So we read through that and talked about it a little bit. And then there are a couple of verses at the end of that on the Guru entering the heart. So that's where we got to. So now the next section is about reciting the following verses on how to live your life for sentient beings. So these are the bodhicitta verses. So the first one is the first verse of Geshe Langri Tangpa's 8 verses of thought transformation. So this is a short mind training text by one of the great Kadampa Geshis. And this first verse says, determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I shall hold them most dear at all times. So in 1975, I was traveling with Lama Yeshe, Lama Zopa as their attendant on their second world tour. So it was quite a long trip. It was about 9 months. They went from Nepal to Darjeeling in East India, then to Calcutta, then all the way back across to northwest India to Dharamsala, and then in Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, United States, England, Switzerland, Italy, and back to India, and then Nepal. So it was, quite a busy trip, and so by the time we got on the plane in Rome to fly back to India, I was kind of thinking, okay, well, now I can relax a bit. This journey's over. So I sort of settled down in my seat next to Lama Zopa Rinpoche, looking forward to sleeping for a few hours. And he says, very quietly, very politely, I thought maybe we could translate this text. And I was like, oh God, I have to work even now, So he said, but it's only a short one, just 8 verses. I was like, okay, let's do it. So I think we finished it on the trip. It was, what is it, about an 8 or 9 hour flight. Anyway, we did the first draft. But looking at these first couple of lines, determined to obtain the greatest possible benefit from all sentient beings. So I was like, from, it sounds kind of a little exploitative. I thought we're supposed to be working for sentient beings, not trying to, derive benefit ourselves from them. So this kind of ties in to what His Holiness the Dalai Lama calls wise selfishness. He said selfishness is generally considered bad. You care more for yourself than others and take the best for yourself and give the others the worst. But there's a positive kind of selfishness, which he calls wise selfishness, and that is selfishness is generally speaking is wanting the best for yourself. So His Holiness says, if you want the best way to get the best for yourself is to completely forget about yourself and devote yourself entirely to the benefit of others. And if you can do that genuinely, sincerely, then that's the best way to that's the best way to benefit yourself, actually, by forgetting about yourself and putting all your energy into benefiting others. So the greatest possible benefit for oneself is to attain enlightenment. The greatest possible benefit one can do for sentient beings is to bring them to enlightenment. So, the way to get both those greatest benefits is to devote ourselves to the welfare of sentient beings and hold them most dear at all times. So holding them most dear at all times means, considering their happiness and welfare more important than our own. And why are they more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel? Scripturally speaking, wish-fulfilling jewel is, I don't really know what it is, but the lamas say that there's this special jewel that you find, that bodhisattvas can find under the ocean, in the ocean. And if they find this jewel and put it in a tree, then whatever they wish for, whatever worldly wish they make will come true. So, whether it's if they pray for wealth or pray for power or whatever it is, the wish-fulfilling jewel can provide far more than even the greatest amount of money. So I don't know why you have to put it in a tree, but anyway, this is the way the story goes. So sentient beings are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, because a wish-fulfilling jewel, or even if you want to say all the money in the world, can get you all kinds of fantastic material things, but it can't prevent aging, illness, and death. It can't prevent our rebirth in the lower realms. It can't prevent us from all kinds of suffering in future lives. A wish-fulfilling jewel can't bring us lumrim realizations, can't bring us to liberation, can't bring us to enlightenment. But by generating bodhicitta, we can attain all those goals, or attain all those results that a wish-fulfilling jewel can't bring us. So whatever we want, like in terms of good things, whether we want wealth, whether we want health, whether we want a good job, whether we want power, we want position, whether we want a perfect partner, all these things that we consider, good from a worldly point of view. All these things can only be obtained if we've created the karma to receive them, if we have the merit to receive all those good material things. So how do we create merit? We create merit by practicing Dharma. So where does the Dharma come from? The Dharma comes from the Buddha. And where does the Buddha come from? The Buddha comes from the Bodhisattva. Where does the Bodhisattva come from? The Bodhisattva comes from bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment. And bodhicitta comes from where? From great compassion. So great compassion is generated on the field of all sentient beings, each and every sentient being without exception. All the infinite sentient beings are the object of our great compassion. So if we leave out even one sentient being, someone we don't like, someone who hurts us, whatever, then that's not great compassion, and we can't develop bodhicitta. So if we can't develop bodhicitta, we can't become a bodhisattva, we can't reach enlightenment. So whatever good things that we wish for can only come about through our having created merit. And as you see, that traces back to all sentient beings. So that's why I always say at the beginning, I say the purpose of our life, purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings to enlightenment. That's what Lama Zopa Rinpoche often says when he's generating motivation for something. So, and the reason is that we've received this perfect human rebirth through our intensive practice of Dharma in many previous lives, several, if not many, probably many previous lives. And in those lives, in the last one, we prayed to be in the situation that we're in now, having a healthy human body and mind, and being able to be being born at a time when the Buddha's teachings exist, where the Buddha's shown the teachings, and where there are experienced Dharma teachers who can take us on as their student and lead us on the path to enlightenment. So so in order to have received this life, we need to practice Dharma, and we practice generosity. We need sentient beings for that. We practice morality. We need sentient beings for that. We practice other of the six perfections, patience, rejoicing, effort, wisdom, concentration, wisdom. All these practices depend on other sentient beings. So it's only through the kindness of other sentient beings as the object of our practice of these various things that we were able to create the merit that finally brought us to receive this perfect human rebirth this time. So, so just as in the worldly sense, that if, someone gives you a present, there's just even in the worldly way where we feel we should return that person's generosity by giving them a present, or someone invites us for dinner, we invite them for dinner. So so it's just a normal human behavior to repay kindness with kindness of one's own. So the best way to repay the kindness of sentient beings who allow us to reach enlightenment is not just to buy them a present or give them a cup of tea, but to actually lead them to enlightenment. So, by practicing Dharma and practicing, especially trying to develop bodhicitta and attain enlightenment, that's the best way we can repay the kindness of all sentient beings. And, the benefits we get of avoiding rebirth in the lower realms and, lumbarum realizations, liberation, enlightenment, that's all, we can never obtain anything like that with a wish-fulfilling jewel or with all the money in the world. Only by depending on other sentient beings, and not just some of them, but all of them, without exception. So if we hold them most dear, if we eradicate our own self-cherishing and develop the mind cherishing others more than ourselves, then we obtain the greatest possible benefit from sentient beings, which is our own enlightenment. And then we can, from that attainment, we can lead all sentient beings to enlightenment. So over the years, this practice of the 8 verses has appeared in several books and different prayer books and all over the place. It's in the Guru Puja. The Lama Zopa Rinpoche has put it in there as an extra practice and so on. For years, the editors in the organization have said that can't be right, And they've wanted to change it for. But so I've had to tell them that story a number of times. But I don't think you'll find anyone else's translation of this verse that says from. His Holiness the Dalai Lama's taught this practice a number of times. It's in 2 or 3 books that I know of, and they don't say from. And it's in a bunch of other, it's quite a well-known practice, this 8 verses of thought transformation. And I don't think any of the other translations I've seen say from. Literally what it is in Tibetan, I'm not sure. But sometimes, Tibetan, when they write these prayers and practices in Tibetan, they have regular number of syllables in each line. Usually 7 or 9, sometimes 8, like in the 21 Taras, there are 8 syllables in a line, but they have a regular number of syllables in each line, makes it easier to memorize. So if there are not enough syllables, or if there are too many, they'll just drop it, and people understand what it means without that syllable, and people know what the filler syllables are. So the word from may not even be, or whatever it is, may not even be in the Tibetan, that's what I'm saying. So then the next verse from Arya Sura's prayer in 70 stanzas. May I become like a wish-granting jewel. Again, the wish-granting jewel. May I become like a wish-granting jewel, fulfilling the wishes, and like a wish-granting tree, fulfilling all the hopes of transmigratory beings. So I wasn't sure what a wish-granting jewel is. I'm even less sure what a wish-granting tree is. Maybe it's a tree where you put the wish-granting jewel. However, the point is that there are these once formerly existent objects, or still existent objects, but we don't know what they are or where they are, or maybe they're sort of mythical. But what the wish-granting jewel does, it fulfills all the wishes, and a wish-granting tree is probably the same. And so the hopes of transmigratory beings are not to suffer and to be happy, not to suffer at all, and to be as happy as possible for as long as possible. So if you interpret that wish, even those transmigratory beings even though the transmigratory beings themselves may not know that this is their fervent wish, to be completely free from suffering and to have everlasting happiness. If you offered it to them and they really believe it existed, I think pretty much they'd all say yes. Although, you know, some people have said in the past, life would be so boring if there was no suffering. You know, I can't imagine attaining liberation and complete freedom from suffering. I mean, what would I do all day? I think it's not a problem, but let's hope we find out. So so liberation from cyclic existence that the Buddha taught, the third noble truth, is possible. It's possible to put a complete end to the beginningless suffering. Suffering is beginningless, but it's not endless, because suffering has a cause, and that cause can be eradicated from our mind. The main cause of suffering is in our mind. And a wish-granting tree fulfilling all the hopes, well, the hopes would be to attain everlasting happiness. So liberation from cyclic existence is a form of everlasting happiness. It's not as powerful as it's not as great, rather, as enlightenment. So enlightenment is the supreme level of everlasting happiness. So who can fulfill sentient beings' wishes with this everlasting happiness, everlasting freedom from suffering? Is only a Buddha, only an enlightened being. So that's what we're praying to become enlightened, so that we can benefit sentient beings in these different ways. You won't see a lot of people translating Droa as transmigratory either. It really means, I think it means sentient beings. You know, sentient beings in cyclic existence migrate or transmigrate from one realm to the other, the six realms of cyclic existence. So, you know, we're constantly moving from one realm to another, being reborn here, dying, being reborn there, dying, being reborn somewhere else, over and over again since beginningless time. So, so we're transmigrators. The word in Tibetan for sentient beings, semchen, means a mind possessor, literally. Mind possessor, sem means mind. I think it probably means sentient being's mind. I don't think it's applied to a Buddha's mind. Might be. Jung sem is enlightenment thought. Bodhicitta sem. Semchen is is what we usually translate as sentient being, a being that has a mind that has some level of ignorance. Transmigratory is drawer. It means draw means to go. So you heard kadro, the dakinis, they're kadros, they're sky goers. Ka means sky or space, kadro. So dakinis are these goddesses that float around in space. Drawer means one who goes. So Lama Zopa Rinpoche likes to translate that as transmigratory. Why in Tibetan sometimes they say semchen, sentient being, or drawer, transmigratory being, I don't know. There must be a good reason.
I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just
please, anyone can jump in anytime.
It's not. It's. I know it's not really the point of the class, but since you were talking about these things, I got curious and I looked it up. There's the online Tibetan dictionary that I try to reference the 4 times a year that I study. It actually usually has the Sanskrit for common terms. So for drowa, it has gati, which makes sense, I suppose.
Why does it make sense?
Because gata isn't that the past participle of gachati, to go?
I know, I'm thinking of gate, paragate, parasamgate in the Heart Sutra mantra, which is gone beyond, gone completely beyond. So your Sanskrit's better than mine.
I doubt it. But
does it give Sanskrit for semchen?
For semchen?
Yeah.
Oh, good question. Let me look that up. I'll put myself on mute.
Sentient being. Sem is chitta in Sanskrit. Sem.
Got it. It's sattva.
Sattva?
S-A-T-T-V-A. Sattva.
Sattva means being, like bodhisattva, like enlightenment being, sattva. Changshub sempa.
I know. I've been told.
Go on.
Been told sometimes they don't. Sometimes Tibetan uses a literal translation. I've been told, and then sometimes it doesn't. So I don't know if that helps.
Okay. Well, everyone has some homework. Look it up yourselves. Semchen and drawa. Sattva is. I don't know if it's quite semchen. Anyway, okay. So let's move on. So then there's some verses from the dedication chapter of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva's Way of Life. So as it says here, in this verse, there's Rinpoche's added some clarifying words in italics. But this is, this is sort of the motivation that we generate in the morning to, as part of our holding sentient beings most dear. So for the sake of accomplishing the 2 purposes of all sentient beings, without any sense of loss or concern, I give away my body and likewise my enjoyments, such as food and clothing, and even all my virtues accumulated over the 3 times. So this next few lines in italics there with quotation marks, I'm not quite sure where that comes from. By abandoning attachment, giving everything away, I'll attain the state beyond sorrow. Since sentient beings are supreme field of generosity, I will give everything to them. I'm not sure if that's in quotation marks because it's a quotation from somewhere else, or it's what we're supposed to think after we've recited that verse. By abandoning attachment and giving everything away, I will pass beyond sorrow. So that state beyond sorrow means nirvana, or liberation. And my mind will achieve the non-abiding sorrowless state, the state of omniscience. So the non-abiding sorrowless state is enlightenment. Since I'll have to give up everything all at once when I die, it's best for me to give it away to sentient beings because Buddhahood is attained in that way. So this doesn't mean we have to physically give up everything we own, but mentally we should feel that everything we have actually belongs to all sentient beings, doesn't belong to us. And in that way, try to counter the attachment we have to, our family, our friends, our possessions, and so many, our pets, we have so many attachments. So if we die with attachment, it's kind of the worst thing. So, the meditators who have reached certain high levels of meditation, they know when they're going to die. They have a clairvoyance. So they give everything away. So there won't be any attachment to distract their mind when it's leaving the body. So they know for sure they're not going to be around much longer, so they give everything away physically. We may be around for another few more days, so we don't want to give everything away just yet, but at least we give it away mentally. Don't think that it doesn't belong to us and have no attachment to anything. So Buddhahood is attained in that way. As I've already given this body, mentally we include our body in our possessions when we give things away. An impure aggregate to all beings to use for their pleasure. Even if they always kill me, criticize me, beat me, and so forth, I will let them do whatever they like. So obviously, these are a bodhisattva's aspirations. We're aspiring to get to the stage where we can do this. At the moment, we obviously can't. Let sentient beings do whatever they like to us, kill us, criticize us. Criticize they can do. Beat us, we don't like that either. But, for a bodhisattva, is completely detached from his or her body and just uses it while it's useful in helping sentient beings. But, if we can give a beggar a quarter or $1 and, knowing that it's not the last one, we can always get more. So there's not much hesitation or attachment. If there is, then we need to practice giving more money away. But generally speaking, we give something like that away, it doesn't, we don't have this feeling of loss. We feel happy, make someone happy, give them $1. So for a bodhisattva, Shantideva says somewhere else in the text that bodhisattvas can give away their eyes, their hands, their nose, whatever. If a sentient being asks a bodhisattva, "Can I have your ear?" They'll say, "Sure." They cut it off and give them the ear. Makes no difference. And we feel pain cutting off our ear. The bodhisattva just feels blissful. Because to feel pain and sorrow and loss and all these things, we need negative karma to ripen. And bodhisattvas have very little negative karma. So things that would cause ordinary people suffering, far from causing a bodhisattva suffering, they help generate a feeling of bliss as they give away parts of their body. So I think Shantideva says that since we're not at that level yet, we shouldn't pretend that we are and then, mutilate ourselves and give away parts of our body, cut off a finger for this one, and a finger for that one. But rather we should practice by giving away vegetables. So, instead of giving someone your nose, give them a banana. Actually, in terms of giving money without attachment, if you have $1, if you feel like you stop at a light and some panhandler comes up saying, homeless veteran or homeless, pregnant, something, they have these signs. If you look at yourself, have I got a quarter? I don't have a quarter, but $1. Oh no, $1's a bit much. So then you ignore them instead. Instead of having the opportunity to create some merit and practice generosity, we hang on to the $1 and drive off. So that's kind of a lost opportunity. Don't even know if you're going to be alive in an hour from now. So, So if that's hard to part with $1, then they say practice giving it from one hand to the other. So have $1, and from your left hand, you give it to your right hand. So then you get used to $1 changing hands. So then, maybe it's a little easier to give it to somebody else's hand instead of your own. Maybe you can sit there at the light, passing $1 from one hand to another, then you open the window and give it to the guy. Okay. So, so I will let them do whatever they like is kind of an aspiration. It's not really a promise yet. But it's the level we want to reach. So the gloss there is, I will allow them to do whatever makes them happy and give up being attached to my body and getting angry at others. So we could do this practice in meditation, practice, I don't know if you're familiar with the churd practice, slaying the ego, but there's a part where you visualize the yogis used to practice chud, C-H-O-D, chud, in so part of the practice you'll see the lamas have this big damaru, this big drum. So normally we have a little one, clatter, 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 clatter in the pujas. You have a big churd drum, boom, boom, boom. And then they have a thigh bone trumpet. So it's part of the churd practice. So, you blow the trumpet to attract all the flesh-eating spirits and all the negative forces. So they used to do this practice in charnel grounds, in cemeteries. Not the cemeteries that we go to, that are like parks. You walk around in a cemetery, you forget you're walking on top of dead bodies. It looks like a nice park, you know. There's a few stones here. Oh, in the actual charnel grounds, they just hurl the bodies in there over the fence. So nobody's buried, and there are vultures and jackals and all kinds of animals eating the corpses. And so it's said that those kind of places attract a lot of negative spirits or evil spirits. So that was a good place to practice. And the purpose of the practice is to freak yourself out, to cause your ego to arise very strongly so that you can see it, you can really feel it. So you try to frighten yourself. And then with the ego, then you meditate on the fact that this thing that's arisen so strongly and feels so real doesn't exist at all. Certainly not the way it appears. So there's a part of the practice where you visualize chopping your body up into little pieces, you know, like you're going to make shish kebab or something, you know, little cubes. And then you put it in this big skull cup, and you offer it to the spirits. And the spirits come and they eat your body, you know, that you've offered. So, you know, we could, even though we can't, this verse 13 here, let them do whatever they like. We could do that in meditation. We could practice being happy when they're beating us up, or, you know, we're happy to cut off our arm and give it to somebody. I mean, we all know the story of the Buddha in his previous life with the hungry tiger, right? Everybody knows that story. Okay, not getting a lot of recognition there. So this happened in Nepal. There's a place called Namo Buddha, which is maybe an hour and a half's drive out of Kathmandu. I've been there a couple of times, not for a long time. But this was where it was supposed to have happened. So in a previous life, in the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha was a bodhisattva, and he was walking with his brother, in that this is hundreds, thousands of lives ago. He was walking with his brother, and his brother was the previous life of Maitreya Buddha. So that's Maitreya Buddha there over my shoulder. So Maitreya is the next Buddha after Shakyamuni Buddha. So Shakyamuni Buddha is the fourth in this, of the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate eon. So this is a fortunate eon that we're living in, vast period of time where 1,000 Buddhas are going to appear. Guru Shakyamuni Buddha was the fourth. So we're enjoying Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings that were given, you know, 2,500 years ago, and may last a few hundred years more, who knows. But then there won't be any teachings for a long time. And, you know, things will be pretty miserable on earth, and life will be difficult, and there'll be a lot of fighting and suffering and war and all kinds of bad things happening. But eventually the negative karma will get used up and karma will start to improve. And then eventually, anyway, when the sentient being's karma is right, like it was 2,500 years ago for the Shakyamuni Buddha to appear, when the sentient being's karma is right in the future, then Maitreya will appear and again turn the wheel of Dharma, like Shakyamuni Buddha did. So in their previous lives, Shakyamuni Buddha and Maitreya Buddha, they were brothers living in this place in Nepal, and they'd been somewhere and they were coming home, and they came to a clearing, in the forest, and there was a starving tiger with her 5 cubs. And she was in very bad shape, so she wasn't producing any milk, and the cubs were, crying for hunger, and she could hardly even get up. So, the 2 boys looked at this and had incredible compassion, but maybe said some prayers for the tiger and her cubs, but they didn't do anything. They went on home. So then, just after they got home, the boy who was going to become Shakyamuni Buddha couldn't get this tiger out of his mind. So he went back to where that tiger was with the cubs, and lay down beside the tiger and offered her his body. But she was so weak that she couldn't even, bite his arm. So he got a knife and he cut himself, so the blood came, and then he let the tiger lick the blood. So then gradually she got enough strength so where she could eat him and get enough, and then and feed her cubs. So instead of feeling any pain or sorrow or loss, he just felt bliss that he was able to help these 6 sentient beings in this way. And as a result of that, as a result of that incredibly strong compassion and bodhicitta that he generated, they say that that's why he attained enlightenment before his brother. And that's why he became the 4th Buddha of these current 1,000, and why Maitreya didn't have such strong compassion. He felt compassion for the tiger and her cubs, but not enough to go back and offer his body. So there's that story. I think I've heard that when the Buddha gave his first teaching after reaching enlightenment, he taught the 4 Noble Truths to 5 disciples. It may have been a tiger with 4 tiger cubs, and that the tiger and her 4 cubs were the first 5 disciples of Shakyamuni Buddha in their future life. I'm not sure about that.
I think it's in the Golden Light Sutra.
It says that?
I think it says it's the 5 cubs of the 5 disciples.
5 cubs, was it?
And I think it also says who the tiger is, but I don't remember who it was. But it's in the Golden Light Sutra, it says.
Yeah, well, I haven't read that enough. Not for a while, anyway. You do the recitation?
I've done it in the past, but that's my favorite story from it. That's why I remember.
Oh, yeah, okay. You don't like the fish story?
That's a good story, too.
Okay, the next verse. From now on, whether they play games with my body or make an object of laughter by ridiculing or making fun of it to hurt me, since I've already given this body of mine to sentient beings, why would I resist by protecting it, and so forth? So again, we can rehearse this kind of scenario in our meditation. Visualize people making fun of us, ridiculing us, just insulting us. So normally, if this happened, especially in public, we might get angry. Even as people get angry even with small things, like there was this road rage incident. Someone cut someone off the other day. So the guy came around and shot the guy's wife in the passenger side. I mean, it was just like crazy. So, we can visualize people making fun of us and like in meditation and dealing with it in a constructive way, feeling, oh, that's good, I'm making them happy. They're happy, ridiculing me and using me as an object of derision. So that's great. I can be useful in that way to these people who get some enjoyment like that. So, if we can, and then we can, so I don't know how you test it. Maybe go into a supermarket and start acting weird, and then people start mocking you and like that, and then just see how you respond with in a Dharma kind of way, Because normally, if people mock us and that, we retaliate. So not retaliating is one of is a bodhisattva's action. I will also use it to do any virtuous action that doesn't harm and benefits others. So praying for virtues to become causes that do not go to waste includes praying for yourself to become a cause of only benefit for others. That's the next bit. And so there's subsequent verses. Praying for others' attitudes to become causes that do not go to waste, and praying for others' actions to become causes that do not go to waste. So whenever any sentient being encounters me, may it never be meaningless for them and always be meaningful. So these are aspirational prayers. Whenever someone has an angry or devotional thought arise just by looking at me, so they look at me, get mad, they look at me, they feel devotion, may that attitude alone become a cause that always accomplishes all the temporary and ultimate purposes of that being. So temporary wishes, happiness and psychic existence and good rebirths, and ultimate purposes, liberation and enlightenment. So Rinpoche often made this dedication prayer that we put in our books here as an aspirational prayer. So this is something this is what we're doing as a morning practice. We're recommended that we do this every day. So in these books we say that may whoever sees, touches, reads, remembers, or talks or thinks about these books, so these Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive books, never be reborn in unfortunate circumstances, receive only rebirths in situations conducive to the perfect practice of Dharma, meet only perfectly qualified spiritual guides, quickly develop bodhicitta, and immediately attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. So Rinpoche often says, may whoever sees, touches, talks to, thinks about me, have all these good things happen. So it's praying that you could be useful to others, even just by their seeing you or hearing you or thinking about you or remembering you, that they will develop bodhicitta and enlightenment. Whenever others criticize me with their speech, harm me with their bodies, or likewise insult me behind my back, may all of them have the fortune to achieve great enlightenment. So it's just praying for others' welfare, no matter how they treat me. May I be a savior for those who lack a savior, a guide for all the beings who enter a road, a boat, a ship, and a bridge for those who want to cross the water. May I be an island for those who seek the safe shore of an island, a light for those who want a light, bedding for those who wish for bedding, and for all beings who desire a servant, may I become a servant of them all. May I be a wish-granting jewel and a wish-fulfilling vase, giving rise to whatever is desired, such as food and clothing. Powerful mantra, accomplishing the actions of pacification, increase, and so forth. Great medicine, curing every sickness. A wish-fulfilling tree, satisfying every need, and a wish-granting cow for all beings. Like the four great elements, the earth and so forth, and like the sky, may I always be a means of living in every way for the innumerable sentient beings. Likewise, may I be a means of living at all times and in all ways for the realms of sentient beings equaling the extent of space until they all attain the sorrowless state. So when we pray for all these things, especially if we can do it from our heart, very sincerely, having recited these verses a number of times, having thought about their meaning, and having a genuine concern about the suffering that sentient beings are undergoing, and and feeling great compassion for all of them. So, the deeper we understand these verses, the more familiar we become with them. When we pray for these things to happen sincerely, we're also creating the cause to be the recipient of these things ourselves. So by praying for the welfare of others, we're indirectly praying for the welfare of ourselves. So, we have to be a little careful that sneaky attachment doesn't creep in and think, oh, if I pray for welfare of sentient beings, I will get all this benefit myself. So, and then that sort of becomes our actual motivation. You really want it for ourselves. Like I said to Lama Zopa Rinpoche after my first meditation course, I said, I told him, I understand the words, but when I say, I'm doing this, I'm eating this food for all sentient beings to be happy and enlightened, I told him, I feel like a hypocrite because actually I know in my heart I'm just really not that much concerned for all sentient beings. I'm really just concerned for my own happiness. So, he laughed and said, well, it's got to start with the words. If you don't start with the words, how's it going to start? But gradually, as you repeat the words over and over again, and as you become more and more familiar with their meaning, and you become more and more familiar with the shortcomings of attachment and the benefits of compassion and bodhicitta, then when you express that sentiment, I'm doing this for all sentient beings to be happy, it'll become more and more genuine. So when we first say it, it's a kind of an unfamiliar thought for us, but gradually it becomes more and more familiar and more sincere. But if we don't keep thinking these things and trying to understand what they mean and trying to feel what they mean, then it won't, deeper understanding and realizations won't happen. And then it finishes with this, one of His Holiness Dalai Lama's favorite dedication verses. And, you know, he always finishes, after he gives the bodhisattva vows, he always recites this verse. As long as space remains, as long as transmigratory beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the suffering of transmigratory beings. So Gampopa, Milarepa's heart disciple. So Gampopa was, he wrote a very famous, he was basically the founder of the Kagyu tradition. You know, we have these four main Tibetan Buddhist traditions: Nyingma, Kagyu, Sakya, and Gelug. So ours is the Gelug. It's the most recent one. Lama Tsongkhapa tradition started like in the 14th century. The Nyingma started in the 8th century. The Kagyu and the Sakya started around the 11th century. So Gampopa is, so the lineage went from, so Milarepa's teacher was Mapa, the translator, who often used to go to India and take teachings and bring back texts from India and translate them and give teachings on them. So Mapa's teacher in India was Naropa, and Naropa's teacher was Tilopa. So these two great Indian yogis. Lineage came to Mapa, to Milarepa, and from Milarepa to Gampopa. And then Gampopa started this Kagyu tradition. And so, you know, the Karmapas are in that tradition. And there are different branches of the Kagyu tradition. Drigun Kagyu. So we have a Drigun Kagyu Center in Arlington, with Lama Sonam. And there's a Karma Kagyu. So that's the Karmapas ones. And then there's, I think there's another couple of smaller Kagyu sects as well. I'm sure. So Gampopa, Milarepa's heart disciple, said, after waking from sleep and before you get out of bed, think, today I'm going to use my body, speech, and mind in virtue for sentient beings. It's so important to generate this precious thought of bodhicitta, the ultimate good heart. Whatever you do that day is then done with bodhicitta. So everything then becomes virtue and the cause of enlightenment. If your motivation is wrong, everything then becomes negative karma and the cause of the three lower realms. When you then go to sleep at night, dedicate all your actions of body, speech, and mind for sentient beings. This is extremely important. It is said that without difficulties, this becomes the path to the Dharmakaya, to the enlightened mind. So probably for us, it's not enough just to get out of bed and generate bodhicitta and dedicate the whole day to the enlightenment of sentient beings, because our compassion, our bodhicitta isn't that strong. So we need to really keep reminding ourselves of it throughout the day. And then we have these practices of bodhicitta mindfulness that we've talked about before, where, everything we do with bodhicitta, if we remember. So that's why it's called bodhicitta mindfulness. So mindfulness is being aware of what's going on in our mind all the time, being aware, remembering what it is that we're supposed to be thinking, we're supposed to be doing, and not just go around mindlessly doing stuff. So when we open the door, we think now, so we're doing these ordinary actions, opening the door, eating, sleeping, working, walking, going to the bathroom, whatever we do. We do all these ordinary actions, but if we can do them with bodhicitta, so when we open the door, we don't just open the door and go through and shut the door. We think, now I'm opening the door to liberation for all sentient beings. So you visualize as you go through, you're leading all sentient beings to liberation, enlightenment. When you close the door, you think, now I'm closing the door to the lower realms for all sentient beings. So then as you walk to where you're going, you think, now I'm leading all sentient beings on the path to enlightenment. So with everything we do, there's a way of transforming that action and the thoughts that go along with it into the path to enlightenment, to do that action, to do those thoughts, to make those thoughts bodhicitta. So it's not easy to do, to remember to do this all the time. But if we could do everything we do with bodhicitta all day, every day, I mean, I don't do it, so I don't have experience, but I imagine it would be like incredibly powerful effect on our mind if we were able to be that mindful that we could do everything, we could transform every action we do with bodhicitta to make it, a direct cause of enlightenment. So if we can't make every moment, a winner like that, at least whenever we can, we should remember, the purpose of my life is to lead all sentient beings from suffering to enlightenment. Therefore, I'm going to eat this lunch just to sustain my body for the practice of Dharma. So at least, as many times during the day that we can think of bodhicitta and remember to try and transform whatever action we're doing with bodhicitta. So the more we do it, the better.
Nick, is there a text or a teaching that lists those different thoughts, like opening the door, thinking you're opening the door to liberation? And
yeah, so it's in a book. It's out of print now, but it's online, called the Bodhisattva Attitude.
Mm-hmm.
There's whole sections on bodhicitta mindfulness there. And the first time I saw it was in the very first Dharma book. Tibetan Dharma book that I got was Lama Zopa Rinpoche's Wish Fulfilling Golden Sun. It was the textbook we had at our first meditation course. And there's a shorter list of them there. But if you go to lamayeshi.com and you look up bodhicitta mindfulness, well, there's a little FPMT booklet called Cultivating Mindfulness of Bodhicitta in Daily Activities. And I wasn't familiar with that. You can't see it. But if you Google bodhicitta mindfulness, Lama Zopa, that will come up, I'm sure. Cultivating Mindfulness of Bodhicitta in Daily Actions. So that came out 4 or 5 years ago. But anyway, at lamayeshi.com, there's a number of things on bodhicitta mindfulness.
Thanks.
So then those are the various prayers and motivational things to think. So then there's a bunch of additional practices like that Rinpoche has given us for blessing the speech and daily mantras. So at the beginning of these additional practices, Ribush says that this blessing the speech and the daily mantras can also be done before the method to transform a suffering life into happiness, especially if we're going to recite it out loud. So if we're reciting these verses that we've just been through the last couple of sessions, if we're going to recite them out loud, then if we've blessed our speech and done these other mantras, they actually give more power to our speech. So if we recite them out loud, it has more positive effect on sentient beings, people, animals, insects, whoever hears us chanting. If we've blessed our speech beforehand, the chanting has more power. So the first thing is blessing the speech according to the instructions of the great yogi Kyungpo. So first we take refuge and generate bodhicitta. So there's, say that 3 times, conscious samala kapsu chi, drola penja sangecho. I take refuge in the 3 rare sublime ones, the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. May I become a Buddha to benefit transmigratory beings. So then there's a visualization to purify our truly existent I into emptiness. So, this is really a tantric practice. So if we haven't had initiation, you're not supposed to visualize yourself as a meditational deity. So here it says, purify the truly existent I in emptiness. So we can do that. Then your wisdom realizing emptiness, which is non-dual with great bliss, manifests as a deity. So, if you've had Yamantaka initiation, you visualize yourself as Yamantaka, or Vajrayogini, or Haruka, or Guya Samaja, whatever the highest yoga tantra deity is that you practice. So I'm not sure where this footnote is. Footnote 9, where is it? Sorry. Okay, that's better. Right. So here, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, citing Dhamma-Locho Rinpoche, he was a Lama who lived in Dharamsala. Rinpoche says that in this particular context, even if one hasn't received a great empowerment in either the lower or higher tantras, which empowers you to visualize yourself as a deity, one can visualize oneself as Shakyamuni Buddha. However, in general, one should have received the initiation of a particular deity in order to be permitted to generate oneself as that deity. So, but to visualize ourselves as Shakyamuni Buddha, as a historical Buddha, then we don't need initiation. Like that ringtone? Slummy Yeshi. I should have let it ring a bit more. So purify the truly existent I, so you feel the I, here, usually we feel the I, me, myself in our chest. So dissolve that into emptiness. So you think, it doesn't, this I that I feel that I've always felt doesn't exist. In reality, it doesn't exist the way I conceive it or perceive it to exist. And just dissolve everything into emptiness, like empty space. And then out of that empty space, you can manifest yourself as Shakyamuni Buddha. So, you know, with a radiant golden body, wearing the monk's robes, and with all the different attributes, the crown protuberance, and you know, the beautiful face, and all the way you just see the Buddha depicted in statues or in tankas. So clarify yourself as Shakyamuni Buddha. And then on my tongue, a syllable R, so you can visualize AH, or you can visualize the Tibetan letter, transforms into a moon. So I'm assuming everybody has this PDF of this practice with Lama Zopa's commentary. If you don't have it, then you have to email Bob at kurukulla.org, and he'll send it to you. On your tongue, a syllable R transforms into a moon. So it transforms the moon. So the moon isn't like a round sphere, it's like a flat, it's a round cushion, like a disc. R transforms into a moon. On top of it appears a white syllable Om, encircled by the white Sanskrit vowels standing clockwise, and the red Sanskrit consonants standing counterclockwise, and a blue heart mantra of dependent origination standing clockwise. So it's hard, you know, you're not familiar with the Sanskrit alphabet, and we're not familiar with visualizing in such great detail, so it's hard. But just think there's this moon disc on your tongue, and there's a white syllable Om surrounded by these three sets of letters, which are standing upright, sort of like a picket fence. So the white Sanskrit vowels, the red Sanskrit consonants, and the blue heart mantra of dependent origination. Light beams radiate from syllable Om and the mantra garlands, so they radiate out in all directions from you, above, below, to the side, everywhere. They radiate from the Om and the mantra garlands, and they hook back the blessings and power of speech of those beyond and not beyond this world in the form of 3 mantras, 7 sublime precious objects of a king's reign, and the 8 auspicious signs and the 8 auspicious substances. So you have to look up the footnotes to explain all them. So those who are beyond the world are the Buddhas, the higher bodhisattvas on the 8th, 9th, and 10th levels, abiding on the 3 pure bhumis, and the arhats. Those who are not beyond the world are the yogis who are accomplished in the path, and the sages who have actualized the words of truth. Due to the power of abiding in silence and living in the morality of abstaining from negative karmas of speech, the words of these sages have much power, and so whatever they pray for is successful. So we're invoking all this power of speech of the Buddhas and bodhisattvas and all outside cyclic existence, and those within cyclic existence who have these realizations. All their blessings and power of speech are hooked back in the form of these 3 mantras and these different objects, filling the whole sky. So it's like this incredible rain of all these letters and special objects, and they're all absorbing into the mantras on the moon disc on your tongue, like rain falling onto an ocean, or like snow falling onto warm ground and just dissolving into it. So then for blessing, to bless the speech, then you concentrate on the visualization of these 3 mantra garlands and recite the vowels. So, you know, Om, A, I, U, Ri, Li, E, O, Ama, Ka, Soha. So we do that 3 times. And as we recite the vowels, white nectar beams. So nectar beams means nectar is kind of blissful nectar, like liquid, and beams is like radiant light. So nectar beams flow down from the mantra and fill your whole body. So as we're reciting these vowels, om, a, e, u, so forth, our body is filled with this radiant white nectar, blissful, and all the negative karmas collected with the body from beginningless rebirths are completely purified. So you visualize like that. Then after that 3 times, then we recite. So you need to memorize the Sanskrit alphabet to do this visualization. As you recite the consonants, so they go counterclockwise, red nectar beams flow down from the mantra, fill your whole body, and all the negative karmas collected with speech from beginningless rebirths are completely purified. So you just visualize our body filling with radiant, blissful red light and purifying all the negative karmas of speech. So we recite them 3 times with that visualization. Then there's the heart mantra of dependent relation. So as you recite this mantra, blue nectar beams flow down from the mantra and fill your whole body. All negative karmas collected with your mind since beginningless time completely purified. That's Om Ye Dharma Hetu Prabhava Hetu Tekan Tathakaya Yavada Tekan Nirodo Evam Vari Mahashramanaya Soha. So we do that 3 times and purify all our negative karmas created with mind since beginningless time. So then the heart mantra of dependent origination, the blue one, absorbs into the consonants, the red consonants, and then they absorb into the white vowels, and they absorb into the syllable om, standing on the cushion, and that om dissolves into the moon cushion, the round white disc, and that transforms into a syllable ah. And the ah melts into pink nectar and absorbs into my tongue, which becomes the nature of a vajra, like indestructible. So your tongue becomes very heavy and strong, as if difficult to move, and as indestructible as a vajra. Generate very strong faith that all the blessings and power of the speech of all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Yogis, and sages have entered your speech and made it perfect. Think, my speech has become perfect. So the benefits of blessing speech are the power of your speech becomes perfect. Whatever you recite is multiplied 10 million times. And the power of your speech is not taken away by eating wrong foods. So there are certain foods that can damage the power of speech. I think these are just generally the black foods, so-called. Meat, eggs, garlic, onion, and radish. So our previous Geshe Tsulga, who was Geshe Ngawang's at the center, who came in 93 and was with us for 17 years till he passed away, just over 10 years ago. He was uncle of Geshe Ngawang, Geshe Jinli. He would never eat onions or garlic, ever. Geshe Tsulga. So with this blessing, even when you gossip, it becomes recitation of mantra. So you can sort of guilt-free gossiping. You bless your speech. So then you dedicate, may my tongue, sense, base have all the courage of the ones gone to bliss. By the magnificence and power of my words, may all sentient beings be subdued. May the meanings of whatever words I say be accomplished. So then there are some daily mantras. Don't know where my rosary is. I thought I brought it with me. Anyway, okay, I didn't bring it. So the first is the mantra to bless the rosary. So you just say Om Rutsira Mani Troata Yahum 7 times, and then blow on your rosary, and that blesses it. Then all the recitations you do of the secret mantras taught by the Tathagata multiplied 100 sextillion times, 10 to the 23rd. Not sure how they came up with that, but means it becomes much more powerful. This is taught in the unfathomable mansion of increasing jewels. So that's a sutra. So taught by the Buddha. There it is. So you say Om Rutsira Mani Tuatayum 7 times, and then just, blow on it, and then it's blessed. That's good for the day, till the next morning. So then any mantras you recite are increased, the power is increased a lot. So it's a very simple practice to do, well worth doing. Then there's mantra to multiply virtue. So any positive activity you do is multiplied by 100,000 times. That was taught in the Sutra of the Wheel of Complete Dedication. So that's Om Sambara Sambara Bimana Sara Mahazao, Hum Om Mara Mara Bimana Skara Mahazao. So you recite that 7 times. So these are practices to do in the morning. Then there's the exalted beam, stainless beam, totally pure light mantra. Nama Nawa Nawa Tinan Tathagata Gang Ganganam Dewa Lukanan Kotini Sata Shrahanan Om Bori Bori Tarina Tari Mori Goli Sawari Soha. So you say that a few times. 3, 5, 7. So it says, talking to a person who's recited this mantra purifies even the... So if you talk to someone who's recited that mantra, your negative karmas get purified, even the most extreme negative karmas. Just hearing the voice of a person who's recited this mantra, being touched by their shadow or touching their body, purifies negative karmas collected in this and past lives. Anyway, so there's a bunch of other benefits mentioned there. Then there's the mantra of the great wisdom, Bimala Vishnisha. Om Hridaya Savatadagata Hridaya Gava Zolo Dhammadata Gava Sangharana Ayuk Shansarana Papamba Savatadagata Samendra Vishnisha Bimali Vishwade Soha. So you recite that a few times. And that has 2 major benefits. It purifies 5 heavy negative karmas without break. So those are, killing your father, killing your mother, killing an arhat, drawing blood from a Buddha, creating a schism in the Sangha community. So those are called negative karmas without break, because if we create those and don't purify them, then as soon as we die in this life, without break, we get born into the hell realms. There's no intermediate life, just because those karmas are so negative that you just go straight to the lowest realm. So the second benefit is that because it's the most powerful mantra for consecration, it can be used to consecrate holy objects, as well as rocks, trees, mountains, and so forth. So there, Trey, you can consecrate your own statue with this mantra. So the holy name mantra that fulfills wishes. So Deshin Shekpa Sazin Gyalpala Chag Salo, to Tagara Earth Holding King I prostrate, then Tarayata Om Dare Dare Darani Bande Soha. So you can say that multiple times. It says 108, 54, or 21. I think 7 is okay too. Whoever memorizes the name of this Tathagata and the words of this mantra will have all of their wishes fulfilled without exception. So then there's a mantra to increase the power of recitation. So before reading and reciting prayers and sutras, for reciting Golden Light Sutra, or reciting anything. If we say this, it increases the power of the recitation. Tayata Om Dare Dare Ben Dare Soha, 7 times. And then there's a mantra to bless your feet. Om Trasana Gana Hungri Sohai. So you say that 7 times, and then you spit on the soles of your feet. And it's taught that any insects that die under your feet will be reborn as devas in the realm of the 33. So the realm of the 33 is the 6th of the 6 God realms in the desire realm. So in the God realms, we talk about the 6 realms of samsara, hell realms, hungry ghost, animal, 3 lower realms, human, sura and asura, or the gods and the anti-gods. So in the sura realm, the God realm, there are 27 levels. So there are 6 desire realm levels of gods, 17 form realm, and 4 formless realm gods. So there's a book called Meditative States in Tibetan Buddhism. So that explains these different levels of the God realms. So the gods of the 33 are the 6th, it's in the highest of the 6 desire realm gods. So if you recite this mantra and spit on the soles of your feet or your shoes, and I think Rinpoche said you can also spit on the car tires. Recite this mantra and spit on the car tires. Recite it 7 times, spit on the car tires, or on your bicycle, or wherever you're going that you might crush sentient beings, and it blesses them to be reborn in the God realm. So I asked Rinpoche once, if reciting that mantra and spitting on our shoes has the power to do that, why wouldn't we just recite the mantra and spit on the soles of our feet and then go around stepping on as many insects as we could? And he laughed and said, yeah, it doesn't work that way. If it worked that way, you'd get those clown shoes, the big shoes that the clowns wear. He said we could get those clown shoes and walk around stepping on even more insects, if we recite the mantra and spit on the soles of the clown shoes. But you can't intentionally kill insects. It's only if you bless your feet and then you inadvertently or step on an ant or a worm or something when you're walking around, then it blesses that insect. But you can't do it intentionally. Yeah, this mantra can also be used to bless the wheels of vehicles and other things that can crush and kill sentient beings. It should be recited when a specific need arises, such as having to walk on the ground where there are many insects or other small creatures, when driving a car, riding a bike, and so forth. So, especially in the summer, if there are a lot of insects around, there are a lot of puddles of water where it's easy for insects to breed. And if you're walking on the lawn, in the summer there's so many insects and ants and so on in the lawns. So it's good to recite this mantra. And if you happen to kill any insects, then they get blessed. Om Trasana Gana Hungri Soha. So that's basically the practices. So we don't have time to do this now, but I highly recommend doing that practice. If you can't do it every day, maybe once a week or something, if you can find time. Then if you kind of get into it, maybe you can do it more often. And then there's a long commentary from Rinpoche where he goes into all the details of all these different practices. So, if we were to go through that, it would take months. So, we've done a brief run through the practice over the last 5 weeks. So hopefully reading the commentary will make a bit more sense. And, try doing it, see how you feel. So any questions?
So just on the subject, going back to the first verse of the 8 verses for training the mind. I always had a difficulty with that one. I think I understand what the thought is, but I've seen different translations, and I'm just a little confused. Like I have one translation here from let me see, a book published by Snow Lion. I'm not sure who. Ruth Sunam translated it. Sorry.
It's in Geshe Sonnen Rinpoche's book on the 8 verses.
That's right.
Yeah. So she'll translate it different.
Yeah. First is, may I always cherish all beings with the resolve to accomplish for them the highest good that is more precious than any wish-fulfilling jewel. So
that's a little different.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to get back to our text here. So I can see.
Well, have you got the commentary?
Yes.
It's on page 46.
Page 46. Oh no, I'm sorry. I don't have the commentary in front of me, but I know what you're.
Yeah, so Ribush gives quite a lot. I haven't actually read this, so I'm not quite sure what he says here, but I don't know if he addresses that point.
I know because I don't really read Tibetan, or maybe like at just a very rudimentary level, but I can understand enough to see that it's actually kind of ambiguous.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, most people don't say from, so I'm not, but there's 1, 2, 3, nearly 4 pages of commentary here. So why don't you have a look at that later on and see if Rinpoche addresses that point. And if you want to discuss it anymore, just email me, nick@lamayeshi.com.
Thank you.
Any others? So, so this was the last of our 5 sessions in this module. So I've done it, been through the 4 modules that we normally do: Buddhism in a Nutshell, Meditation 101. I called it How to Meditate last time. And then this one, Establishing a Daily Practice. What's the third one, Bob?
Transforming Problems.
Oh, Transforming Problems, right. It was, it used to be called Everyday Dharma. So practicing Dharma every day. So we did that the first time, and then we did Transforming Problems last time. So I think I'm going to take a break from these Monday nights for a while. I don't know if someone else is going to step in and do them. I'm doing some other classes for a couple of other centers as well. So it's all getting a bit much at the moment. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to harangue you for the last year or so. I'm sure I'll be back. And just keep your eye on the calendar and the schedule to see what's coming up. Of course, always highly recommend Geshe-la's classes. Geshe Tenley's classes on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. So I'm not quite sure what we'll be doing on Mondays, but stay tuned.
Geshe-la has a shorter class coming up, which will be after this week. It's going to be the practice of confession of the 35 Buddhas.
Oh yeah, that's
That'll be
important.
for a few weeks. So that'll be kind of a shortest class if you.
When will that be? On Wednesdays?
That's on Wednesday nights.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just dedicate the merit. So, we generated bodhicitta at the beginning of this session, and we've been discussing Lama Zopa Rinpoche's practice. So we've created a lot of merit just this evening. And then, the merit we've created over the previous 4 nights doing this module, and then the merit created in all the previous sessions of these different modules over the last year or so. So I think, because of all this merit, and not just my merit, but the merit of all my teachers and the Buddhas, the past, present, future, all the bodhisattvas, and even all the ordinary beings' merit. I think pile up all this merit. Rejoice. The merit is the cause of happiness and success. And then give it away, offer it to sentient beings, think, because of this merit, now I quickly reach enlightenment in order to enlighten all sentient beings. Okay, guys, thank you again very much. And I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
You can always get me at nick@lamayeshi.com.